Please welcome our dear friend, Reverend Claire Summerhill.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Linda. And what a joy it is for me to be here today with you, to come home to where I was raised in Science of Mind, where I started, I think back in 2006 or 2007, taking foundations from Myrna, our beloved Myrna. I'm very happy today to welcome my son and his lovely and amazing wife and my grandson. I'm also happy to welcome my second ex-husband, who was one of my very best teachers through much of my life. And it's just wonderful to be here together. And Easter's one of my favorite times of year, the season of new beginnings, of things opening, of new growth, exploration, miracles, and wonder. What a wonderful day to come together and celebrate. So as Linda said, my message today is called Reveal, Release, Rise, and Repeat. And that can actually be the story of our life. And we're going to talk about each one of those for a minute. So I want to start with a little cartoon that I love. Now it says 2020 on this cartoon, but you can just change it to 2022. As you can see, the one guy is saying, well, what's going to happen in this next year, in this year ahead of us? And the other guy has said, well, I expect flowers. And the first guy, who is how many of us are, with our fears, our anxieties, says, how can you say that? Everything is such a mess. And of course, the other guy says, well, I've planted flowers. And of course, this is what we teach in Science of Mind. We bring forth what we expect. We choose. We can choose to plant flowers. And then we can expect flowers. You know, it's interesting because as we look at Easter, it's fascinating to me. One of the things I love is to look at the religious traditions and stories from all over the world. And this story of a God perhaps being born of a virgin, doing miraculous things, dying and coming back to life again, is found in stories all over the world. The Hindu elephant-headed god, Ganesh, Osiris, many, many different traditions have these amazing stories. And as I look at those, I find myself wondering, why is that? Why would this same story show up in all of these different traditions in different ways, in different forms, with different names? And then I realized that's because this is the story of our life. This is each of us going through cycles, living, dying to old ways, coming to new life, accepting new life. And so that's how I like to look at this Easter story. Now, I've had the wonderful privilege of teaching children. For some years, I ran our youth church in Las Vegas, and I love to tell the children these stories from different cultures. And interestingly enough, I would tell a story, and then the children would ask, is that a true story or a made-up story? And of course, I would say, well, what do you think? And they would think about it, but then they'd say, but what do you think? And I'd say, well, Some people think it's a true story, and some people think it's a made-up story. Yes. I said, well, I think there are some true parts of it, some things that are true about it, and some things that are made up about it. And I don't think it really matters whether it's a made-up story or a true story. What matters is what we learn from it, what it teaches us. So then, at this time of year, I might tell the children the story of Persephone. Maybe some of you know this story, maybe some of you don't. So Persephone was her father was Zeus, her mom was named Demeter. They're two gods. They came together. They had this beautiful child, and they named her Persephone. And they loved her so, so much. And then one day she's out picking flowers, and the god of the underworld, a god named Hades, kidnapped her and took her away with him to the underworld, the place where the dead lived. Well, her mother, Demeter, was devastated and sad and cried. And she went to Hades and begged and pleaded, please give me my daughter back, let my daughter come back. And Hades said, well, I can't. She's eaten of the food here, and now she has to stay. But Demeter would not give up. She continued to beg and plead and cry. And finally, Hades said, well, here's what I'm going to do. You can have her 8 months of the year, but then the other 4 months of the year, she has to stay here with me. And so that's what happened, and that is why for 8 months of the year, plants grow, crops grow, the leaves, the trees are green. Demeter was the god of harvest and growth, plants. And so while she has her daughter with her, everything flourishes. And in the other 4 months of the year, when her daughter's gone, everything dies. So the children, of course, listen to this story. And then, of course, they want to know. It's a true story, it's a made-up story. So I ask them what they think. And of course, their first thought is, I think it's a made-up story. You know, like I don't think there's a god in the underworld and kidnapping someone. And then, so they said it's a made-up story. But then I asked the more important question, what's true about this story? What is true about this story? And I love children, you know, they're thinking. They're always thinking. And one time when I shared this story, the children are thinking, and one of them says, well, it's true that if a child was stolen or taken away, the mother would be really sad. I said, yes, that's true. That part of the story is true, isn't it? And they get that. And then I said, what else? And it's interesting because the children know that I'm not looking for a right answer. They're not trying to figure out what answer I want. They know I'm really curious. What do you think about this? And that's one of the things I love about Science of Mind. We're not saying this is the right answer. We're saying, be curious, be open, think, ask questions. So then one of the children says, well, you know, it is true that everything grows during the spring and summer, and then in the fall and winter, everything looks dead, and then it comes back to life again. I remember one time a little 4-year-old boy then suddenly had something to share, and he said, we had a tree, and all its leaves fell off, and I thought it was dead. And I asked my mom if it was dead, and she said, no, the leaves will come back. And they did. I said, yeah, that's right. That's true. So I said, anything else? What's true about this story? I had one little girl in my class who was always trying to find a lesson in things. She said, well, even if things seem hard, you should keep trying. Like Demeter did, like she didn't give up. And so I accepted all these answers because the story is true in all those ways. And if I were talking to adults, I might talk about cycles, new beginnings, endings, and how that's all part of a perfect flow. Dying, new life, how each of us in our own lives let go of things, welcome new experiences, and so on. So now some of you may be sitting there and thinking, you know, that old Greek story of Persephone is kind of like the Easter story. You know, a god dying and coming back to life, bringing new life to everything. A parent with a beloved child who dies. And of course, that's kind of the point, that all these stories are the same, and that there's really only this one story about our awakening, our coming back to life. And that's what the Easter story tells us. Now, most of us are fairly familiar with the Easter story, but let's think about it in the same way we thought about this story about Persephone. So this is how I might tell the children this story. You know, there was this guy, he had powers. It's interesting, children, they never question that. Oh yeah, some people have powers. They're used to that. Well, their superheroes have powers. And he could make nets fill up with fish, and he could make storms go away. He could walk on water. He could heal people that were sick. And then some people didn't like him. He was disrupting the status quo, telling people to think in new ways, telling them that the old strict laws where they had to do things a very certain way weren't there anymore. They didn't have to do that. They could open up and see things in a brand new way. And so the people who didn't like him killed him and put his body in a cave. And the story goes, the next morning, one of his very good friends, a woman named Mary, came. She just wanted to spend some time and be there where his body had been placed. And there was a huge stone had been placed blocking the entrance to this cave where his body had been placed. And on her way, she was wondering, how am I going to get that stone out of the way if I want to go in and just be with him there? But when she got there, the stone was gone, and the tomb, the cave, was empty. And she was upset. She just wanted to have some time to be there and spend time with him. And so she's walking around. She sees a guy there in the garden, and she's crying and kind of looking down, and she thinks, well, maybe he's someone who works here, and maybe he'll know where they took the body of my friend. And so she went up to him and she said, sir, if you know where they took my friend's body, can you tell me? And then the man said her name, Mary. And in that moment, she knew it was Jesus, and he was alive again. So now what about that? A true story or a made-up story? What if that really isn't what matters? What if what matters is what is true about it? See, Marianne Williamson one time said that many of us are arguing about who should drive when we're on the wrong road. We get stuck in that, don't we? And that's where, when we get stuck on, is it true? Is it historically true? Is it actually what happened? Rather than, what is true about it? What can we learn? And of course, this is the message of Easter. Our theme this year for the whole year for Centers for Spiritual Living is living everyday wonder. That's the message of Easter, that we can live in that place of awe, that place of wonder, that place of expecting miracles, transformation, the totally unexpected. You know, we have our tradition of hunting for Easter eggs. It's a very metaphysical thing. How does it work? You keep looking. You know that there are amazing things out there, surprises, the unexpected, wonderful things, and you just have to keep looking. Now, if a child went out on an Easter egg hunt and looked for 1 minute and didn't see any eggs, would they just give up and say, well, there's nothing there? And yet, sometimes that's how we are as adults. Oh, well, it's not for me. I'm not going to find anything. No, that's the message of Easter. We keep looking. We keep expecting. We know those miraculous things will happen. So I see all of that as the reveal part of this message. We open ourselves to let that truth come in. We stop worrying about if something's historically true or not, and we look at the deeper truth. We don't argue about, yes, it really happened, no, it didn't really happen. We know there is truth there, and that we can open to that truth. So next, release, reveal, release. And of course, we teach release, we practice release. We know the importance of letting go of the old ideas, the old beliefs, the fears, the anxiety, all that stuff that holds us back. If we can just let that go. I want to share a poem I love about release. It's just as important as the reveal. And maybe some of you have heard this poem, but I love it. And it's called She Let Go. She let go. Without a thought or a word, she let go. She let go of the fear, she let go of the judgment, she let go of the confluence of opinions swarming around her head, she let go of the committee of indecision within her, she let go of all the right answers, wholly and completely without hesitation or worry, she just let go. She didn't ask anyone for advice, she didn't read a book on how to let go, she didn't search the scriptures, she just let go. She let go of all the memories that held her back. She let go of all the anxiety that kept her from moving forward. She let go of the planning and all of the calculations about how to do it just right. She didn't promise to let go. She didn't journal about it. She didn't write the projected date in her day timer. She made no public announcement and put no ad in the paper. She didn't check the weather report or read her daily horoscope. She just let go. She didn't analyze whether she should let go. She didn't call her friends to discuss the matter. She didn't pray about it. She didn't utter one word. She just let go. No one was around when it happened. There was no applause or congratulation. No one thanked her or praised her. No one noticed a thing. Like a leaf falling from a tree, she just let go. There was no effort. There was no struggle. It wasn't good and it wasn't bad. It was what it was. And it is just that. In the space of letting go, she let it all be. A small smile came over her face. A light breeze blew through her. And the sun and the moon shone on. forevermore. That's what's possible when we go through the process of letting truth be revealed to us, and then we release easily, freely, simply letting go. And once we've done that, that's when we rise. That's when our lives begin to transform. So I want to end with one last story, and this is a story that I know is true because it happened to me. So many, many years ago now, I was a young mother, barely out of my teens, married to a sweet, idealistic, poor student. We didn't have much. And I had made a little book for my toddler son. Maybe you'll have a chance to meet him after the service, though he's 6'2" now. And I had made this book for him by cutting out some pictures from some religious magazines we got and gluing them onto pieces of cardboard and putting this book together with some notebook rings. And these were pictures of Jesus when he was born and Jesus with the children and so on. And this was a time in my life when I actually believed this story about Jesus dying and coming alive again was true in a historical sense. So one day, there were no words. I just would look at the pictures and I'd tell him these stories, and he loved them. And one day, I was telling him the story, and we came to the picture in the little book of the 3 crosses against a glowering sky. Perhaps you've seen that picture. How do you explain that to a 3-year-old? And I said to him, I said, some bad people hurt Jesus. And just sharing it in that way, I was kind of overcome with the love of all being possible, the idea that someone might actually love me completely, unconditionally, willing to do anything for me. And as I told that, I got kind of emotional and choked up, and my eyes filled with tears, and I couldn't go on. So if you've had children, they're concerned when they see an adult crying. And so my little boy looked up at me, and I will never forget this, because what he did is he turned the page of the book to the next page, and on the next page was the picture of the resurrected Jesus in the garden with Mary. And then my little Ray put his hand on my face to make sure I was looking at it and said to me, "It's okay, Mama. Jesus all better now." What does a child teach us? That's always possible. Just turn the page. Don't stay focused on the negative, the pain. Everything's all better now. So that's the Easter story, and I encourage you now as you go forth to do your own Easter experiment. What if the Easter Bunny is a true story? And there are surprises, unexpected things, sweet things, beautiful things, just waiting for you to find them, for you to notice, for you to gather up. They're there. If it works for you, it's a story of Jesus. Remember what's true about it, that we're loved unconditionally, absolutely. We can never do anything to make the universe stop giving, stop providing for us, stop holding us in love. Try it. Live not being afraid, not wondering, ready, open, free. As you go forth into your lives, take that Easter message with you. Let's take a moment now to go into prayer together. You know, we call our form of prayer affirmative prayer because we're never asking anyone outside of us for something. We're simply saying, yes, I accept the good. So this is what I affirm. This is what I know right here and right now. I know that we live in an Easter world, a world of miracles, a world of everyday wonder, a world of surprises, gifts. I know there are infinite possibilities and that we live in this place where we can bring our creative power to bear, touching, transforming. I know this. I know I am surrounded in love, that I live enfolded in that creative energy that we call love, we call God, an energy that never fades, is always there. And as I know this for me, because we are all one, I know this for each of you, each person here. This is the truth. This is the truth of the Easter story. Miracles are possible. New life is possible, even when we'd given up hope. The universe is always calling our name, announcing, here I am. Resting in this place of knowing. We claim this good. We release that which no longer serves us. We open our arms wide to live with joy, to create, to connect, to share our gifts. And I know this Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living is a place of love, a place that prospers, that grows, that provides a loving home for the people of this valley, for all of you to come together, to join as one, to learn, to grow, to experience. And we just remember how grateful we are for all of it. Today we're grateful for Easter. We're grateful for the stories, and that it doesn't matter what happened, what's made up, because there's truth in all of it, and we see it, and we know it, and we accept it. And now we let this go, and we affirm it together by saying, and so it is.